Welcome back to Daytime Live. Right now, we're joined via Skype by Neil Nelson, founder and CEO of the Atlanta Blackstar website. Welcome, Neil.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Atlanta Blackstar is one of the biggest black-owned websites. Can you tell us why you started it and, why we should check it out?
Sure. Atlanta Black Star was founded because, to a great extent, what we saw was that our voice was being limitedly portrayed in the dominant media platforms that are out there, both in this country and globally. And so we wanted to create a platform that would speak to the broader African community globally, not just the US community, but also the African diaspora in the Caribbean, in Central South America, and also the continent and Europe. Excuse me. And so this is the reason for it. And we thought that it's important to use Atlanta as a namesake because Atlanta is one of the central cities in this country. We call it the Black Mecca. But we think it has important implications globally. Also, this is where Marcus Garvey was last imprisoned before he was deported to Jamaica in the 1960s or 17, I believe.
That's excellent. Excellent.
So you're Jamaican now. How has the
That's
pandemic?
correct.
How has the pandemic affected the Caribbean community in the U.S.?
I have not seen any particular reporting or incidents that is specific to the Caribbean community. We know that there's a large community of Jamaican people in the New York metro area where there's significant cases of the virus and high death rates, highest in the country. And so my assumption based on those numbers is that it's probably proportional to the population there. And so, one has to imagine that that's the case. There's also a big community in Florida, but that's not been the huge ratio of cases in Florida compared to the tri-state area.
Right. So you've also been helping out in your community in Clarendon. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Sure. I'm a member of a group in Northern Clarendon called One Connection. And this is a group that was founded by some friend of mine who's Dello and her classmates, Romy, and they invited me to join the organization several years ago. And this is a group that really come together and help community members, whether it's building homes or with groceries or funeral costs and things of that nature. And so to me, that's the kind of thing that I wanted to be a part of. And so most recently with the COVID-19 health issue, I said, guys, how can we help the poor and elderly in this area? And we got together and we sent them some funds, and the team there really showed out and went and bought the groceries and delivered them to the elderly and those who were less fortunate, to help them with a month worth of groceries.
Excellent.
And so that's something that we think is really important for us to do to our communities, not just in Northern Kenya, but across the African diaspora.
Lovely. Lovely.
Awesome. All right, so we were just talking a while ago about the issues that Africans have been experiencing in China. We know that you've started an initiative with Ugandan artists and activist Bobby Wine. Tell us about that.
Sure. When the news broke on the weekend and we saw what was happening with our brothers and sisters in China, it broke our hearts. And I was around the house and I talked to my business partner and said, we really must do something about this because this is tragic. We cannot continue to watch as our people are being humiliated and mistreated across the globe. And we made a phone call to a few of our friends here, and they connected us with some folks back on the continent. And we got with Bobby Wine and said, guys, we better make an impact. And we said, look, we'll pay for the planes, charter planes to go there and pick folks up if there's an African country that will receive them. And Bobby got online and said, look, we'll do it. And so that campaign really jumped off on Sunday afternoon when we saw the news and that's the heartbreaking reports coming out of southern China with pregnant women being denied hospital care. This just really harkens back to how our people have been treated across the globe and historically by non-African people. And so we have to stop that. In 2020, we cannot make 2020 the year when our people need help and we don't step up to the plate to help.
That's
Straight.
amazing. That's impressive. So you are picking up persons and taking them to other African nations that's participating in this movement. How many persons have your initiative helped so far?
So right now we began to collect the names of those who are willing to accept our offer. And so right now we have 100 people roughly who are willing to accept our offer, currently still in Guangzhou. And we're waiting for an African nation that will receive them, given, of course, the pandemic. There are certain precautions that these nations and leaders have to take in dealing with the situation, given the fact that China was the origin of this virus. And so there's consideration that one has to assess before making those options available for folks to come to the different destinations to be quarantined before released into the population.
Yeah, I really have to commend you on that, Neil. That's really amazing. I mean, we were talking about that earlier, and that's what I was saying to Nisha, and that at the end of the day, it's our people. So, I mean, if people out there having problems with them, send them come. I mean, you know, it's ours.
I agree 100%. You know, look, Marcus Garvey is our greatest product in Jamaica for a reason, right? Because Marcus Garvey saw the future. He saw that African people around the world would not be secured until we build the kind of infrastructure necessary to be able to intervene around the world to secure our people's interests. Whether it's in Jamaica or in Haiti, or whether it's in Latin America or in New Orleans, whether it's in Europe, Asia, wherever African people, or in the continent itself, wherever our people's interests are threatened, we must have the kind of infrastructure as African people collectively own and control that can intervene in our affairs and help us do better. Until we do that, none of our lives are secure nowhere on the planet.
Amazing.
And with strength as well, because what we were saying earlier was that the way that the African leaders stepped in and they were addressing the whole China situation and the prejudice that Africans are facing in China was that we've been treating Chinese nationals this way, so we expect you to treat Africans this way. However, if you are not, I'm not hearing the forcefulness of, if you don't do this, then we will do this. And that's what I'm not hearing. And it's cool that you have provided a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the challenge historically is that we have not built the kind of structures as African people, both in the diaspora and in the home continent, that allow us to have these kind of demands met. The real deal is that ultimately China has embedded herself in the African continent, in the Caribbean, and elsewhere in the African world in such a way that our leaders are restrained in how they can respond to these kind of incidents. They are constricted by the policies, the agreements, the financial obligations, the debts, and other arrangements that have been made across the African world. And so really it behoves us as the people, African descent, in the diaspora, in the home continent, find ways to work together to build these kind of non-state institutions and organizations that can pressure the issue. Look, Marcus Garvey said that ultimately our redemption lies in our hands. We have to save ourselves. We have to save our own souls. And we're not going to get leaders that are thoroughly embedded with the Chinese state to make too harsh of a statement. They may pursue our interests diplomatically, and I'm sure that they're doing that across the continent and elsewhere, but they don't have the economic, the military, and the other institutional power to demand anything of the Chinese, quite frankly.
Thank you so much, Neil. That is amazing. And I love it that we are rescuing ourselves. That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I will be following you on Instagram because you're amazing. Atlanta Blackstar, everybody. Check out the website. News that give us a great voice so we can know everything that's happening. With that, Daytime Lab will be right back with another non-digital game, which I will lose. We'll soon forward. Join us after the break.